Yeah, it's your boy Crypto Blood, and welcome to another double spending episode. Today I've got a video out of Real Vision. Man, I've actually had this video saved. I watched it maybe about a week and a half ago, but I'm telling you guys, if you have not seen this, I want you to definitely click the link in the description of this video to watch the full video. I'm going to just play a snippet of it. Some key points that I want to highlight from this video, this interview that Real Vision did with Keith Jurow. One thing that was very disturbing is that this housing recovery is not, and I'm sure you guys know this, but this guy really digs deep and shows you the data. He shows you the numbers as far as foreclosures, what these banks are doing to cover up the foreclosure issue. What really disturbed me was the fact that these banks are allowing these homes to go into foreclosure that are under $300K, between $200,000 and $300,000. They're allowing families to be displaced from their homes because they've fallen behind on their payments. But anything above $300,000, they're allowing these individuals to stay in their homes. Should really be the opposite, I think. But that was really disturbing. That was one point that I wanted to highlight. And they actually started to reduce the number of homes they put on foreclosure, which made a difference in prices, as you would think. If the banks are withholding these foreclosures from hitting the market, then quite naturally, that's going to suppress the price downturn in the market. If you have homes that's hitting the market that's well below comps in the areas, it's going to bring the prices of the homes that aren't in foreclosure down, and then subsequently probably bringing those individuals either at break even or below the amount owed on the home. So it's a domino effect. 10 years later, we're still dealing with this stuff. He also touches on New York and how they're one of the worst in the country. New York is, as far as putting homes in foreclosure status. They're just simply not doing it in New York. They're putting these homes in pre-foreclosure status, but not actually foreclosing on them. And the discrepancy between pre-foreclosure and actual foreclosures is like tenfold. So the situation is still with us. And so I just wanted to let you guys check this video out, a snippet of it. I want you to definitely check out the full video when you have a chance. If you're out there a homeowner, you're looking to sell your home, it might be the best time to sell it now. It might be the best time because this situation is still very, very much an issue. And lastly, I just thought about this one last point. 25% of homeowners that are delinquent on their mortgage payments, they haven't paid in 5 years, not a single dime. They haven't paid in 5 years. Insane. Check this video out. Definitely make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe, and click that bell. Let's get into it. How?
Hello, my name is Keith Jurow. I'm an analyst, and I'm the real estate columnist for MarketWatch. Since 2010, I've been trying to educate my viewers and readers that the so-called housing market recovery is really nothing more than an illusion. Let me start by making two claims. The first, I don't think it's a wise decision to buy a house either to live in or for investments right now. And the second is that some homeowners should consider selling their house now before they lose whatever equity is in it. At the end of the housing bubble, prices began to level off in 2006. And then in 2007, they started to decline around the country. Things got really bad quickly, and in 2008 and 9, prices were falling everywhere, nowhere worse than in the places where the speculation was greatest, like Phoenix, Las Vegas, Los Angeles, most of California, and much of Florida. Foreclosures just kept rising as prices were tumbling. And then by early 2010, the lenders and their mortgage services panicked. And they said, we have to do something to stop the bleeding. So they decided to sharply reduce the number of foreclosed properties that they would put on the market. And if you take a look at this first graphic, you'll see that in the left column, for these 10 metros, there were plenty of homes in foreclosure in July of 2010. But if you take a look at the middle column, you'll see that very few of them were actually put on the market. And then if you take a look at the right column, you'll see that almost none of those put on the market were priced over $300,000. They just decided they weren't prepared to take the losses on these expensive homes, so most of the foreclosures were $200,000 and under, and the other expensive properties were simply left to sit. The question is, what finally turned the housing markets around the country around? Things were really bad in 2010, and did this solution work? Not really, because throughout 2010 and 2011, foreclosures continued to grow. They actually peaked in 2010 with over 1 million foreclosures. Nowhere was this worse than in California and in LA. So throughout 2010 and 11, foreclosures continued to rise, prices continued to drop, and the servicers decided that we need to do something more drastic than what we've been doing so far. So starting in early 2012, what they did was actually reduce the number of properties that they repossessed and put into foreclosure. This really began to make a difference, especially in Los Angeles, which was, you might say, the epicenter of this whole madness. And by 2012, at least in LA, prices began to turn up. But that wasn't the case for the rest of the country, especially in the rest of California and Florida, which was just a mess. But they continued to close the spigot, so to speak, so that, for example, in LA in 2012, there were only 25% of the foreclosures that there had been in 2008, which was really the peak of foreclosures in California. By 2013 and 2014, the foreclosures almost stopped completely, and the servicers began to see that this was actually working. If we keep these properties off the market and we don't foreclose on them at all, then this could turn around prices. And very gradually in 2013 and 2014, around the country, prices slowly began to increase. The important thing that I want to point out is that this had nothing to do with any kind of economic recovery. The housing market turnaround was done because of these actions taken by the lenders and servicers to do something about this foreclosure mess. I should mention the New York City Metro because it was a really special and unique case. It's the largest metro in the country with almost 20 million people. And what happened there was just extraordinary. The lenders and the servicers never put very many properties into foreclosure and sold very few. If you take a look at the next graphic, you'll see in this table that in the first row, there were hundreds of thousands of properties in the New York City Metro that received what were known as pre-foreclosure notices, telling them that they were in danger of foreclosure, these delinquent homeowners. But then if you look at the second row, you'll see that very few of them were actually foreclosed between 2010 and 2014. Almost none, and that continues to this day. And that was the only reason why prices in the New York City Metro, and I mean the entire Metro, New York, Long Island, and Connecticut, and New Jersey, prices never really dropped very much at all, and that was entirely because of these actions taken in terms of we just won't put them into foreclosure or sell them. There were so many delinquent homeowners that hadn't been put into foreclosure that they had to decide, what do we do about them? Just reducing the number of properties that you put into foreclosure wouldn't be sufficient because new delinquencies were arising all the time. And so for them, the solution that they decided on was to modify their delinquent mortgages. And the shocking number is that between 2008 and 2018, some 25 million mortgages were modified, or they had another term for things that weren't permanent modifications. They called it workouts. I won't get into that, but 25 million of them were modified so that the servicers wouldn't have to foreclose on them. And the question is, well, did that work? Yes, in the sense that it stopped, it prevented the mortgage servicers from having to foreclose on millions of additional mortgages. That wasn't the end of the problem, as we'll see. There are something like roughly $800 billion worth of these subprime mortgages still outstanding. And the problem is, if you take a look at this third graphic, is that this is a real shocker, is that many of these subprime mortgage borrowers haven't paid a nickel in the last 5 years. Take a look at the columns. You'll see that just a year ago, in some of the worst states, half of these haven't paid a nickel in the last 5 years, and this problem continues. And if you take a look at the states, yes, they're the usual suspects, but you'll see on the bottom that there are some states you wouldn't think that they had such a delinquent problem, but they do.
All I can say is, wow. I want you guys to go definitely watch the whole video. It's about 25 minutes long, and he just peels back the layers in this situation, this mortgage situation. It's definitely not fixed. So again, we're doing all this repo purchasing and propping up markets here and there. What happens when we actually have another recession? It is just going to be catastrophic. Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe. And I definitely want you to check out the whole video. I'll leave a link to it in the description of this video. It's your boy Crypto Blood, and I'm out of here. Holla!